guys, welcome back to another video. So for some reason the beginning of July has been somewhat busy for me, so I have not been, at least what I think, drawing as much as I would have liked to for Arrtx, but nonetheless I've been drawing like digitally. It's always nice to go back into my sketchbook at least to draw something with traditional mediums, but I always think it's fun to like, you know, do kind of like switching on and off between doing digital and like using some sort of traditional medium. So today I had plans on doing like a full spread with color, and my idea was to draw my OC Lepus, who you guys have seen from I think last video where I was doing a bunch of sketching right here, where I was doing a bit of doodling. But I thought today I was gonna do gouache, but as you know by the title, we're not doing that. I decided to switch gears. So let me see if I can make this a little less exposed for you guys. I don't know if it's any better. I wanted to draw Lepus once again, and initially, like I said, I was planning on doing gouache, so I was gonna paint him on this side and doodle on this side, but instead, I think we're gonna switch gears and we're actually gonna do colored pencils, or pencil crayons, which is probably how I'm gonna refer to them for the rest of this video. And I ended up adding Ledian, which is a Pokemon, alongside with Lepus, because I still am like really into Pokemon right now, once again. it hasn't died down since the last time I talked about it, because like I said, I'm revisiting Pokopia because I want to rebuild my town, and like we had the gouache event and all that, and I love gouache a lot. But I also think Ledian's such a cute like partner Pokemon for Lepus, so let's use colored pencils. Let's see how vibrant I can get the spread to be, and hopefully not regret not doing gouache for today. Which I feel like is never a phrase I'm gonna say because I struggle with gouache so much. But colored pencils used to be like my favorite medium for a while, other than like working with pencils, because it's very similar to, for me, like using normal graphites, right? So I love dry mediums a lot more than wet mediums. There's like two brands that I've been using for the last few years, and there's one that I'm like more familiar with. So ever since I got these Arrtx 126 colored pack of colored pencils, this is kind of like one of my go-tos that I use for any colored pencil drawing, especially if I'm doing like doodling and stuff. But the other one that I'm more used to, and I grew up using these in school, are the Prismacolor Premiers. So I have them in this like little folio kind of case because I never had like such a big pack of these like pencil crayons at one time, but after I've sorted them, I needed something to kind of contain them all. So we're gonna do kind of a mixture of all these alongside with the Arrtx ones, I think, is kind of the plan for today. I feel like some people like colored pencils and then some people don't. It's kind of like up to your own preference. Now, because I was thinking I was gonna do gouache, actually, maybe I didn't have like a real reason. Maybe it's because I thought I was gonna erase a lot of this anyways to do a cleaner pass for the gouache portion, but we are gonna have to lighten up a good portion of our sketch. So I'm using a kneaded eraser. I'm just gonna try to smooth one side a little bit more. So these erasers are like very malleable, so it's great for like erasing tiny, small areas, lifting up pigment, but also it's a little bit softer if you want to do like a pass. You can roll over it, or you can just like slide it across, and you can use it to lighten your sketch. So I want to do this because I don't want too much blue bleeding into certain areas, because Lepus is a bit more on the warmer side in terms of skin tone, and then Ledian has a lot of red. And I don't remember how colored pencils really react on this paper. So usually I would recommend something like a little bit toothier. At least like for me, I like using something smooth like this type of paper, or like cardstock, Bristol board, especially if I'm doing a lot of like burnishing. But I feel like for more even coverage, the texture kind of helps with like, you know, how the pigment's gonna grip onto the page. So we're gonna see how scratchy scratchy today is gonna be. I'm also gonna fold this in so we can kind of like clean our kneaded eraser. I was also thinking if I should have done like a watercolor pass first and then do embellishing over it with the colored pencils, but we're just gonna go straight in with colored pencils today. What colors I want to use for Lepus's skin tone. So I might need a scratch pad. So I think for our lightest tone, we can use this one for like some of his highlights. And actually a pretty good part of his base can be this color. Before we add more, always add purple. I might need a little bit of blue. Also need to find my pencil sharpener. I don't really remember where I've kept all my old Scholar versions, but there's some of the Scholars that like sneak their way into here, so I have this one in here. So I don't know exactly what ones we're going to be using, but I'm just pulling out so many from my Prismacolor set right now, and then a lot of like more fun colors or supplementary colors we can pick from the Arrtx set maybe. So I don't know if this is like my favorite pencil sharpener, but it's the pencil sharpener that I have that I know that doesn't bother me when sharpening. And I keep it in the sour cream container because it's gonna catch all these pencil shavings, and then I can just dump this into the garbage later. I think like pencil crayons can be so fun to use if you have like the patience for it, or you know how you want like textures to be, or if you like a certain type of shading technique. Because I've seen a lot of people like recently, at least I've seen like that video go around recently where that one person has like really smooth application where you can't see where they stop and start their shading, and it's like one consistent pass of color with a very consistent like texture to it, which always amazes me. I feel like just like any other traditional medium, it does take a little bit to layer up and get your desired results, so I feel like this is still going to be somewhat of a long session. And a reminder, this is going to be another like longer sketchbooking session, so if this is not your type of video, I'll see you next time. So I need to figure out how warm or how yellow some of these browns are. Like this one a bit more. I think this one's very yellow. Because I don't have a color that's like exactly Lepus's skin tone, so we're gonna have to mix something and do a bit of layering to get kind of our desired skin tone for him. So we're gonna start off with this. Also, this is like a pencil extender. These ones are really cheap. It has a wooden barrel and has this metal part where if you push this up, it kind of clamps down a little bit tighter, so you can insert a shorter pencil into here and then push this up to kind of like lock it in place, and makes your pencil a little bit longer so it's easier for you to hold. I have pencils that are this short because of this, so that I'm able to almost use it all the way down to like a tiny little nub. I think this one's just as short probably. Yeah, this one's also tiny. But these are helpful for like pencil crowns, so like if you feel like your grip on your pencil is not too great because of how short it is, I do recommend getting a pencil extender. So lighting I didn't really think about. Also, this is gonna be hard for you guys to see for a little bit. I didn't realize like lighting wise, it takes me a while to layer up, so I start with very light layers initially. I think this makes it the easiest way to also get like really good color payoff this way, so that you can fill up slowly the white of the page and hopefully not, you know, hit that, what is it called? Wax bloom super early. Also starting off early. The song or songs I'm listening to right now is by, actually, who am I listening to? I'm listening to Yourness. So like your as in Y-O-U-R and then Ness, N-E-S-S. It's been a while since I've listened to their songs, but I love their voice a lot. Yeah, I don't think I've ever really shown you guys much when I've layered up colored pencils, right? I think usually it's in a time lapse, and I don't know, I feel like I've gotten more frustrated using colored pencils, especially because I used to mostly burnish. I feel like it's more for people who do realism, because I don't do that as much anymore. I haven't really done any drawings or illustrations that require me to do like very seamless like blending. So he's gonna look a little dull for a while. Maybe I'll zoom in. So this is just one color right now, but hopefully we can get some establishing of our values here very quickly. I'll do another like gouache session in the future, like a real-time one, but I don't think that's, the day is not today. For some reason I was not like super compelled to do painting. But I'm gonna work on this side mostly first, because this is still too light for it to be Lepus's skin tone, even for like the base tone. But the reason why I wanted to use gouache today, or my initial thought of wanting to use gouache today, was mostly because like I wanted something that had like high color payoff so that I could draw Lepus, or like color, because I actually really do like his color palette quite a bit. I don't know. I don't know if I was like ready to do some gouache today, or if I was a little bit not up to it, I guess. Maybe it's like the better way of putting it. I think this would be closer to like his base skin tone. Like I said, I don't think I remember when was the last time I've done like a colored pencil drawing. Maybe it was like of Selwyn, I'm assuming. Because the one that comes to my brain is like the one that I did of Calyx, but that one's like a while ago. But I can see why like I don't use it as much in the sketchbook when I'm not doing like burnishing or like pressing super hard with the colors, is because I can definitely see like kind of the patchiness that sometimes bothers me when I want something more a little bit kind of like crisp and clean. And at least with like gouache, I guess, as well as like acrylic markers, acrylic gel pens, etc. Those ones at least like you can pull out highlights and add lighter colors on top. This one you do have to be careful, and you want to like treat it kind of similar to graphite where you're building up slowly. Even though like with graphite it's a little bit easier because you have the ability to erase as well and do kind of like draw with the eraser in a sense. While colored pencils, you can technically do that, but you know, they're a little bit more harder to lift. Kind of transition this color a little bit more to, yeah, I can tell this is the Scholar. It's just not laying down nicely. This feels a little short too. I'm gonna pop this guy out, unless, no, I do have another pencil extender, because this one is just like at the correct awkward length of not being able to hold it properly. This is just much more comfortable because it sits much lower into my hand. But the reason I'm being a little bit more cleaner with my coloring is because Lepus's hair hair color is lighter than his skin tone. So it would be harder for me to, like I said, lift this color if I wanted to correct anything in his hair color. Because I will still make some of that probably skin tone bleed into his hair. Just to make things look even softer, but also like reflecting and bouncing some of that light. But hopefully it helps me transition blue and purple into some of the deeper shadows so that we can make it, you know, push back a little bit, but then keep hopefully the vibrancy as well. But I don't mind, oh, I hope you guys don't mind that I'm drawing Lepus again. I am mostly compelled to draw both Cetus and Lepus, more like Lepus for today and last time, because I won't be able to draw them as much throughout July, even though they are like a new OC. Just because, one, I'm focusing on catching up on parts of my commission. I was supposed to get like a store update ready, and I feel like I'm still so underprepared. But then also with Art Fight, I want to be able to draw as much as I can as well. So I won't have as much time to draw my OCs. But I'm glad some of you guys liked both Lepus and Cetus. I can definitely see that Lepus is a lot of your guys' favorite because he's definitely more on like the cutesy side. I'm actually gonna see if I can lift that color. I accidentally got some of the tan or peachy tone right into his teeth. So a lot of the times when I'm working like this, I will do the kind of like cleaner lines or line work with the pencil crayons. But more recently, ever since I've been using some other mediums or different supplies to do like an even darker inking, or, you know, making the lines just seem a lot more contrasty. So for these ones, I usually rely on ballpoint pen because it kind of adheres to the surface despite it being like a little bit waxy. It does take a little bit of encouragement, but at least like it dries somewhat normally in that sense. But I like it because it does help me push like things even further. In general, at least on this paper, the colored pencils do have like much more of like a softer feeling to it. I can see like me going back in even with this peach color. I feel like that's where the burnishing is now. So I'm kind of blurring some of the colors together. Which brown was I using? you guys, whenever I'm doing coloring with colored pencils or pencil crayons, I'm like slamming the pencils basically down as I set them. So you'll hear like the rolling and the click and the clacking kind of look of the colored pencils. So hopefully it's not like too loud. I'll make sure like to cut as much as I can out if it does get like what I feel like is unbearable. Hoping we can reach the desired skin tone. I feel like this is more correct than anywhere else. Because I was holding it low-key like more upright because I had a better grip, but now with the pencil extender, hopefully we can minimize that look. Okay. I know like the pencil extenders that I used, they came in like a pack of 5, I think. I've only have 3 in this case. I actually don't know where the other 2 are. Because like I said, I feel like the white patchiness might bother some people. I don't really mind like all too much. Also, I've switched songs. I've switched to listening to Back Number. For some reason, I was like reminded of their songs and I'm like, I should listen to them again. I always enjoy their songs. I was gonna listen to Back as in like B-A-K. But my thing refreshed and then instead of Back, I'm listening to Back Number. It was kind of like the thought process behind that. And I feel like I always make my skin tones a little bit more warmer. Like orangey to pink or red. Some of these colors, like definitely if you want to layer up in a very specific way, you should leave certain areas with less color. Because if I mix this particular blue, I feel like with the brown, it does neutralize it a little bit more. So if I wanted the blue to be more prominent, either like really press into the page to get the color as like to be as saturated as possible. Otherwise, like sometimes we just do light layering, it's kind of mixing into that muddier green color. Also, the problem with me listening to Back Number is the fact that I can't give you like actual direct recommendations because all of their song names are in like either hiragana or like I'm assuming it's katakana. So I actually don't know the names of each of the songs that I actually like, except for I think one of them is probably called Merry Christmas, I'm assuming. Okay, so do I have a color? I feel like I've seen one. It's probably in my Arrtx set. The barrel of this color, not exactly the tip. The tip looks a little bit more cooler, but it kind of reminds me of like his hair color a little bit. I don't know. How would you describe his hair color? It's kind of like almost like a green gray, but then I usually shade with a bunch of different colors anyways. This looks like I'm coloring with white. I think you guys can barely see like the difference. I need to see if I have any more like either green grays or warmer, just warm grays in general. I feel like all of these are cooler leaning. But sometimes we just have to do like a few areas to block in our shape. And then either fill in our shadows and midtones, or we can, you know, go the opposite way. Either start from your light going towards your dark, or sometimes I fill in like our darker mid-tone colors and then fill in the in-betweens, and then do one more pass of doing the darker colors to make everything like really concentrated and have that contrast. Usually, while I'm doing like coloring, I will try to add line work as we go. Maybe I'll do his eyes first so he doesn't look so dead inside. So for the top of his eyes, I'm gonna leave kind of like a band of blue. Sometimes I forget to do this like early on for a lot of mediums, and then I have to either blot to get the color back or try my best to cover it up, I guess. And technically you could always like go back with like acrylic marker or something afterwards if you really need to. I'm only saying that because like if you're working with one medium, you're not like actually restricted to the one medium, you know what I mean? You can use like other materials too. But sometimes I do have fun, just like see how far you can get just with using the one medium. An assortment of yellows, because he kind of has like a kind of like a yellow ochre-y color, which is, funnily enough, this is what the pencil is called, yellow ochre. Because it's not like a super bright yellow, it's kind of like more muted. It's kind of like a warm color, sometimes a little green leaning if you really want it to be. But I wanted his eye color to be kind of like similar to Selwyn, where it's not just like monochromatic. And even though I usually like adding like a lighter color at the very top regardless for kind of like reflective, and just like for me, I think it looks prettier as a reflective color. It makes things shinier when it's like different from the main color of the eye for visual interest. But like Selwyn and Cetus and Lepus all have their eye color being like a complete mix. I'm like looking at the colors right now. The ones that I chose kind of look like the Colombian flag colors with the red, the yellow, and the blue. And I'm only reminded that because I was watching some of the World Cup recently, and I caught today's like game with Colombia and Switzerland. Oh my lord. I did not need it to go to pens. That's okay. I won't talk about like the World Cup here though. I feel like people have very polarizing opinions, or, you know, their preference on their team, and I don't want to rile people up for nothing. I'm like a very casual watcher, so it's like, so I don't feel the need to talk about it by any means. I should have really looked at the shape of this prior, because I don't know if I'm drawing this super correctly, even though he is my own OC. So apologies that I keep moving the sketchbook over here to color. How I have things set up, I have a lot of things on my left side, so I keep pushing it to the right. Maybe I'll shuffle over my chair. Maybe they'll like force me to be in the center more. I'm not gonna leave that like super bright. I'm gonna fill it in with probably like a lighter blue, so his eyes don't look super even. I love this song. Wait, oh, wait a second. I'm gonna try to remind myself to put this song into the description, because I love this song so much. I feel like you guys should listen to it if you're interested in listening to back number. I feel like I kind of did this backwards. That's fine. If you technically take like a lighter color like this and go over everything, it does give it a little bit like a whatever tinge of your color is, but you can kind of use it to help blend things together if you really need to. I know like people have different techniques on how you want to blend certain things together. I'm just doing like a light blend because, like I said, I'm not really too concerned about trying to fill in every single white little crevice on the page. But this does help even it out just a smidge more. And kind of gives it a little bit more of that yellowy tinge. Because I usually have a slightly more yellow base. Because then everything else can lean towards like pinks and reds when I start to warm up the skin tone. Because at this point, like, I don't want to burnish or like blend too or press too hard to blend right now, especially if you're still layering up a lot of colors, because like I said, if you get that wax bloom really early, it's going to be hard for you to layer colors. So I'm just putting this into some of the surrounding areas so that we can have some of that skin tone, like I said, bleeding through just a smidge. I can't wait until my schedule actually frees up, so that way I can focus on just doing art fight, because I really thought that the first week typically of art fight I am very productive, but this time was the opposite. I've only done like I think 2 attacks by the time you guys see the video, this video. Only 2 turquoisey. So what other colors can we add to knock it back? Ideally for Lepus's hair, My idea is to always add colors that were present in his outfit to be reflected in his hair. Otherwise, like, I didn't want his hair to be too silvery, I guess. And I didn't want his hair to be like just white because I struggle with rendering white hair. So I knew I wanted to at least have his entire hair to be at least like, you know, have some sort of base color that isn't white. There's always like a specific color that I like, never present in any of traditional mediums. I know it's probably because it's harder to produce. They always lean too blue or too green. There's nothing like in between. Yeah, there's nothing. I guess it's more blue than I think. Maybe that's why. I think I've accidentally made it too green. As you can see, I'm trying to correct by pressing really hard to cover up the initial green that I had. And like I said, I'm probably going to use a ballpoint pen to deepen these lines to be super dark. Only in select areas, because I like not covering up all my lines, especially if I've colored lines. The whole point of using like the ballpoint pen, typically in the color black for me, is to put like the utmost contrast, but that doesn't make sense to put it absolutely everywhere. But I think I like Lepus more than Cetus right now. Like I said from at the beginning that I've been, you know, drawing Lepus a lot more. He's more up my alley in terms of like the characters that I like to draw, which tends to be like cuter characters, that type. While Cetus, even like the way I've drawn him isn't like my... It's not exactly how I imagined him completely, because I suck at drawing Ikemen, and that's what I want him to be. So hopefully as we get more comfortable and the more I draw him, he will slowly evolve into the character that I want him to be. Versus Selwyn. Selwyn's like my... I don't know. He's probably a little bit more calm. Calm and curious, while Lepus is a little bit more like... He's calm demeanor, but he's very like excitable. But he's definitely like, you know, focused on his job, while Selwyn's a little bit more carefree. And I think I've said this before too. Whenever I do like the more darker line work with ballpoint pen, or like just whatever I'm using for a darker medium for line work, even if it's just a darker color, I think the eyes benefit the most from it. Obviously, like overall, the entire piece will benefit, but like mostly the eyes, because I think that's the area I always want to put the most contrast. But I think my ideal, not day, but when I do get a break, what I want to do is basically put on Natsume, because I haven't watched it since I last update you guys, because I've been busy. And I need to put my full focus. But I want to watch Natsume while working on art fight attacks. Hopefully I can do that soon. Color I was using, is this a brown? I guess so. The shadow under the nose, so I can add a little bit more blue without it looking too funky value-wise. Because I don't know how well you guys can see that. Like I said, the more you burnish, sometimes you're lifting up layers or you're just adding more on top to kind of get the intensity. And I think that's what I want for some of these areas. Sometimes I don't add as intense shadows. And this one I'm definitely kind of like burnishing in to get more of like a grayish blue color. But with the brown being the base, it does give more of like a greenish tinge, like I said. Okay, we're gonna add a little bit of pink to the bridge of the nose, which I've been doing a lot, especially for when I'm sketching or doing color. I feel like I always do the dashes on the nose now. I feel like it just helps me figure out where the bridge should be. Add a little pass, because I know I'm going to be darkening it up with the ballpoint pen, so I don't want it to be super light. Oh, I didn't talk about this. I didn't give him his hat. I actually prefer Lepus without his hat. I think it's because like I find his hair so cute. It feels like a shame to cover it completely with the hat. So I was gonna give it to Ledian. Instead, I feel like Ledian will just have its own hat. That will fit properly because I feel like Lepus's head would be a lot larger than Ledian, so it wouldn't fit properly. So similar to my digital, I'm gonna make the tips of his hair a little bit more closer to probably the skin tone color. And by doing that, it'll make things just a smidge softer. But we can also just go back in with like a darker, cooler color to kind of match more with the hair color. I'm trying to think what hair color do I actually really like to render. I guess it'll be black hair. Really dark. I was gonna say muted, but I don't think it's muted colors that I really like. Because I was thinking like what hair colors do I struggle with? And I'm like blonde, white hair, red hair. It's too many. I mean, I can do it, but I feel like I struggle because I overthink. Like, blonde becomes too yellow and golden, that it doesn't read as blonde, it reads as like Kisei yellow. And then red, sometimes I lean it to orange, sometimes oh, pink's another one. Pink, like, it could either go bubblegum pink or like too peachy toned. I feel like I struggle finding the good in-between when a character doesn't lean like one way or the other. And I guess his hair reads more as white, because I don't have the correct base color that I want. You can see I screwed up, so I've kind of like made his hair overlap more where one of the shadows was, just for like the general shape of his hair initially was. Also, one of you guys, oh, maybe I'll talk about it in a different video when I go through like attacks on Artfight, or not attacks, your guys' attacks on my OCs. I really want to make like a glowing rabbit hair companion for Lepus, because one of you guys drew such cute like little space star bunnies or something for them, and they're so cute. I always get this part incorrect, so I'm gonna have to do like a gajillion studies to figure out how I want this to curve around the face at different angles. Because I feel like I bullcrapped my way through like trying to figure out how would it hook behind his ear. Okay, let's do some of the shadows and the form for this. And then he kind of has like a navy, dark blue. And this is what I'm kind of talking about. Like, I would do the darker lines, fill in the darker areas, and let it fade out, and then we can find mid-tone colors to kind of transition it into lighter colors. Because sometimes it's easier for me to add the darker colors so that I can see, you know, how dark it can actually be, and then everything else can just kind of like follow after, all the way up until like you get as light as the white of the page. I also want to make like a bonus video. I always forgot about this, but my friend gave me like this cute, I think it's supposed to be like city in the sky looking figurine that you can build. I think it'd be cute to make like a building video, but make it like ASMR. I just don't know how long it would take me to build. I'm gonna add our base in here. I'm leaving the bottom kind of exposed because I'm gonna put a little bit of purple and or teal or blue as a reflective light. Mixing the colors like isn't a bad thing either. It's kind of like in digital where I like having the in-between color. Like if I have this teal and I have this red, this kind of like mucky purple gray color. It's a good transition color as well. And if you add like a lot of contrast, sometimes it reads a little bit more the way that you want it to. In this case, I want it to read a little bit cooler. Also, okay, I know this is probably just like a normal thing in general, but why is it every time I get so busy, there's like 10 billion more things that I want to do? And then when you're bored or like you feel like you're taking a rest or a break, it's like there's nothing to do. It's like the opposite. I'm only saying that because I opened up my Instagram very briefly while I was taking like a mini break, sipping on iced coffee, but I saw someone working with watercolors and I'm like, man, I want to draw both Cetus and Lepus and paint them with watercolors. Like that's like my thing. My brain won't let it go right now. But there's no time. I have no time to do that right now. Because even after this, I have to edit it. I'm probably gonna work on client sketch. I have to work on another video and I need to do art fight. I really want to do art fight. Like, a part of me is like, should I do watercolor painting for art fight attacks? But I feel like I have a higher chance of like disliking the piece and scrapping it that I feel like it's not worth it. I have so many fun characters like lined up that I want to draw. But also, I think I talked about in the other video with Adventuring. Because I was looking through my bookmarks. I have way too many characters that has the same aesthetic that I was talking about, where it's like, oh, dark-haired character with horns, like kind of like dragon aesthetic. And they have a very particular look. And that look is Dan Heng. If you look like Dan Heng from Answer Terre, man, you're not safe. Well, you might be. There's only so many that I can probably draw in one sitting. But I'm working on one right now, and I'm like, ah, such a pretty character. And color scheme, I love. Also, for Prismacolor premieres, these ones, Indigo Blue and Violet are like my go-tos. I think also, I have an indigo, not indigo, I have a ultramarine in here too. I don't know where it is right now, but I use these blues interchangeably so many areas. I think I've said it like many times before in the past too, that black does kind of like suck the color out of things. If you use it in too many places or in places that, you know, you could get away with either using like a darker version of a color, quote unquote, like mixing your black. Oops, I forgot to add the little tail. Don't know if I can bring that back. Be too late. Nice, we can burnish it out. It's just like what style you're looking for, because oftentimes you can just use black and it works effectively, or just use black as a color that you can mix. Like a lot of people mix it with yellows. Gives you a very cool type of green. That I'm thankful for. Because last thing I wanted to do is make your eyes bleed from, you know, using too much excess color. So his gloves are more like a brick red. Actually, it's pretty close. I just don't know how this looks as I get darker and darker. What am I looking at? Is it like this? Usually I wouldn't care too much, but he does have kind of like two-tone gloves where the inside of his glove has the similar blue-ish color to the rest of his like undershirt area. But something of like that color combination I always really like. Almost like, I feel like it's very close to this. They're just both slightly off. I think I leaned it too yellowy. Because some of the purple looks a little too harsh, the blue looks too harsh, green looks too harsh. This color kind of is like okay-ish. Like I'm not mad about it. Okay, so let's work on Ledian. His hands are just white, right? A little bug guy. So let's do this as our base color. I'll add like a smidge of our peachy tone to kind of imitate this color scheme. Because if this is white and his hands are white, might as well have them, you know, have the same colors present. having like a very peppy, kind of happy Ledian next to like a very angry Arrtx is kind of their vibes. As much as I said in the other video that I think Delibird also just like fits his aesthetic pretty well and it's like a very obvious choice, I just like Ledian. I feel like Ledian fits so well, and like them having that link to like space and stars I think is such a cute touch. It's for like a cute little Pokemon, because I'm a sucker for these types. Let's see. I need like a cream color. Yellow is like one of my favorites to use sometimes when I'm doing sketching. If you want to add like highlights and stuff. I feel like in one of my older Danheng pieces, I definitely use that as like a way to show light. Since it's gonna look good with his red. But a male courier Ledian I think is so cute. But like I said, I really like Ledian. This is the big bug. Large bug. But some of the sitting cutie versions of these Pokemon are so derpy. If you like Buddew, because Buddew is like one of my favorite Pokemon in general. And I have several different like plushy versions of Buddew. But one that will always crack me up is the sitting cutie version, because the bud on Buddew is so like abnormally small. Always find it funny, like why did you make that choice? It's still cute nonetheless, and I do like it, but it is very you know, strange that you would think who approved of the design when it doesn't really look like that. I do think Ledian looks funny if its wings are not like fully out. Because it really is just like a little guy. Doesn't really even look like that much of a bug without his little legs out, or his little wings out. Because I don't want it to make it look like it's actually like a very saturated mid-tone yellow. Because at least to me, like sometimes it just looks not right. But those are like case by case too, because like if there's more green into like, let's say their color scheme, then sometimes I'll use more of like a green to shade their hair. It just makes it very muted. Okay, maybe we'll do its eyes first. In like Canada, growing up, we had like Laurentian pencils. I think it's like Quebec based, I'm assuming, because I think Laurentian's like probably a French name. The peacock blue from that set was always my favorite. Can you tell that like this one's just, you know, it doesn't have a lot of pigment to it. So I'm gonna see how much I can build with this color before we switch actually to peacock blue. Because I like electric blue, but like I said, it feels very, not like creamy smooth for the color payoff. It feels like it should get like much more vibrant and darker. Ah! Johto has such good bugs, honestly. Like, I don't love bugs in real life, but Pokemon, cute. Because I love Spinarak and oh! Ariados could be fun though, for if I gave it to him. Or even like to Cetus. I feel like all the Pokemon I'm gonna give him is like gonna make him feel like he's a menace. So let's not do that to him. He has like a Arrtx. What else did I give him? Arrtx, Dracloak? I think Dracloak. Who else is there? I'm pretty sure I gave him 3 Pokemon. I can't remember. But oh boy. If I have to draw Salamence, it's gonna suck. Or Metagross actually could be a cool Pokemon to give. Why am I blanking on what Pokemon did I give him? I think I did decide on 3, because Lepus has Ledian, Delibird, and Pelipper. How can I be blanking so badly? Ampharos. I totally forgot. Another cutie of a Pokemon. Also Johto. You can see I struggled with his hat, because I was like debating, do I want to give him like a huge hat, a small hat? And then I decided to give him the smaller hat, and it just didn't make sense in my brain. So I had like, you know, redraw his scalp. So I can actually figure out like, how big is Ledian's head? do need to darken up his eyes even more. So I need to find that ultramarine. Less purple compared to the indigo, which has more like that blue-green vibe. We'll use this before we add our indigo. I think this blue is just like more my preference. It's like kind of like a purpley blue, like blue, a purpley blue like I mentioned. And I feel like even like digital work, my art kind of leans towards this type of purple if I have to use it for like darkening up red or darkening up blue, darkening up even like switching it from green to more of a blue color to make it very dark and contrasted. I'll kind of lean it towards more purpley too. A little bit of that green blue into here because I think that's actually its eye color. You guys are probably gonna be like, Ren, stop talking about Ledian. I always live like changing the personalities. Imagine if you guys, like I said, if you guys know Pokemon, there's like, I think it's it, Iris in the Pokemon anime who has like that really mean Dragonite. Has like so many funny expressions, but imagine like an angry Ampharos and like kind of like a calm, super nice kind of Arrtx. I think it would be funny. And then I said that I think I wanted Lepus to have like a kind of like a mean, doesn't listen to him, kind of teases him, messes with him, Pelipper. Because Pelipper is such a derpy Pokemon, I would also find it funnier as a, like if it was kind of mean. Maybe like more towards Cetus's personality. Well, maybe I don't know if there's like a Pokemon that I feel like Cetus would have. It would be closer to Lepus's personality. Okay, big bug's eyes are done, so we're gonna shade in our red here, and I'm gonna leave a little space for the little black orb. It's shiny. But like I said, I think Ledian's like perfect. Association with stars. Just a cute Pokemon overall. Has like the good red that I really wanted. He can fly for transportation. I feel like he can help deliver letters. Also the fact that Ledian, when it tries to punch it, like punch Pokemon, can't do much damage, so it'll have to do many attacks with its little 4 ball hands. I think my laundry is also done, so maybe I'll take another break, quickly fold my laundry and come back. I'll do it after I fill in his little feet. I think assigning partner Pokemon is just fun. I know it's like an AU. Part of me wishes like maybe Selwyn should have been like a Pokemon focused universe, but it's fine. AUs are fun. That way I don't have to commit to always drawing them with Pokemon. And I can draw them with whatever. Not like I can't do that already, but... Also, you can see that this backing sheet that I showed you guys last video, it creates a crease. So if you want to prevent that, put something else in between. And just kind of like a... not a reminder. If it was a reminder, I should have said at the very beginning of the video. So Prismacolor premieres are pretty like creamy. I think they're kind of like the most well-known kind of like basis for just like a waxy type of colored pencil that people use to like, you know, blend really nicely, to get really smooth blends and layering pretty nicely before you get like wax bloom. And it layers pretty nicely before you can get like actual wax blooming. But there's like other brands that are kind of like probably also on the premium side, but have that very nice kind of creamy texture, really great for blending colors and mixing them, and then multiple layering capabilities before you hit the wax bloom like I mentioned earlier. The Arrtx set is kind of like how I always describe it. If you've used like the Scholars, where it has like much more of like a harder core or lead, they don't really blend that well. The layering is like okay, but But the blending capability, I feel like it's kind of rough with it because it's like much harder. But the Arrtx, I feel like is kind of like the perfect in-between. The cores are not like super soft where they're constantly breaking. They're not exactly like the absolute best at blending, but I can get actually pretty similar, probably, results if you're just careful with your layering. Because I feel like it does hit kind of like that wax bloom, not as quickly either. But it is definitely much more of like a firmer pencil, and because of that, it might take a little bit in terms of blending, but the layering is always great, I feel like. Because I feel like without pressing too hard, I am getting like quite a bit of coverage in terms of like mixing these two reds. But the Arrtx is like much more budget friendly for a pretty good quality, I find. Technically speaking, like this white part is like the eye shine. If it's getting covered by another shadow, technically the blue would like, you know, cover more of it because this is just the highlight. It's not like how you would do the sclera, but this is how I'm treating it. So I think it doesn't look too weird like that. Oh, this is a true blue. My brain's so like Laurentian pilled that I said it was peacock blue. Unless one of these are peacock blue. I don't think so. And I might come back in with that red that I initially started off with, because I made only just like a very light pass. Maybe if I go darker with it, it's more suitable. I found that original red that I was using. This one is a little bit more orangey. But as we kind of like feather out, I don't mind if we go like super light. Because I love that contrast. And I might make this the basis of the black. So I'll either use black or I might mix a brown with this first and then we can use black to intensify it. And either I use black from a ballpoint pen or we'll use a colored pencil. I do like kind of this indigo blue in place of the black, only because it does read a lot softer. I didn't draw this arm low enough. I drew both of these a little too high. But man, it feels like forever since I've used pencil crayons to do any coloring, and I'm glad I didn't mess this up, like, or not mess this up, get burned out from it. Because sometimes when I do like traditional mediums, you guys know this, that sometimes in the middle of it, or like we're very close to the end, I will get very, not bored of the drawing per se, but I really want to be finished with it. But I think with Ledian being super fun to color as well, it kind of helps out a little bit. My purple. I'll try his legs. Where's our indigo again? Because it's the same line arting color that I was using for Lepus earlier, so I feel like it makes more sense. Maybe if I want to add an outline here. Indigo once again. I want the shine of the hat to be kind of very prominent, so we want that kind of contrast. I think I've mentioned many times that I kind of just want to draw Pokemon sometimes. I think it'll be good practice. But these types of Pokemon are a lot easier for me because they're just like little round shapes. Okay, let me clean up. We'll grab my ballpoint pen of some sort. I think I might use the Pentel RSVP. We'll see. I'll see which one works the best, because one that dispenses enough like ink would be great, but some ballpoint pens dispense way too much ink. You get like little weird blobs, which if you put your hand in it, it kind of ruins everything. So I know that sometimes the ink doesn't want to stick on something that has this waxy texture. So we're gonna find a ballpoint pen that works, but I'm gonna clean up the mess that is my desk probably to make room. We'll see. Maybe I'll just find a ballpoint pen and we'll clean up later. Okay, so I have several different black ballpoint pens. So we have, I don't remember, have I talked about the difference? So Pentel RSVP, I would treat it kind of similar to like a mechanical pencil. You can get darker lines if you take the time and put a lot more pressure or more layers together so that you can get like really dark areas. And the lines tend to be a lot thinner. These ones, at least, I don't really remember what the big Atlantis is like, but the Papermate Inkjoy dispenses a little bit more ink. I definitely think the lines are a little bit less thin compared to the Pentel RSVP. So this is my favorite for like sketching with pen. These are my favorite if I need to like darken up areas. Color pencils, I forgot how much like kind of takes a toll on while I'm working on it. I see that. That's like the black right there. It does make like a very shiny sheen after, but as long as you're careful, it should dry okay. Kind of if you're sketching like with a pencil or something, because like the lines can get fairly thin. Maybe I will zoom in for you guys. I don't know why I zoomed out. I kind of wanted you guys to see like the overall thing coming together, but I'll zoom in so you guys can actually see how thin these lines can get. This is depending on what you're looking for. So you can see the difference between the two eyes. Besides, you know, it's a little off kilter, but the darkness with the ink is different. You want to be careful because I can't tell if it's like actually dry. You can see the ink imprint, so you don't want to be accidentally smudging it around either. So either place like a piece of paper down, be wary where your hand is touching the page. Because usually for like ink smudges, you can take like an X-Acto knife, a box cutter, any kind of blade that's sharp enough and scrape the surface if it's just like a normal smudge. Because the ink hasn't like seeped into the page, it's very much like very shallow and sits on top of your paper. I should really have more of a plan on where I'm placing my lines. So the tip of this feels so small. Oh, there we go. What the heck? Because if you put dark lines everywhere, you kind of lose the contrast because everything's kind of like the same intensity, minus like, you know, your base colors and stuff. But for line work, you can really heavily weight it one way or the other for some things. And usually like for tips on inking, usually you would have like confidence with like doing things in one stroke, having it be very fluid. But for this, because like I said, the waxiness of the pencil crayon does create a surface where the ballpoint pen does not want to stick. So I'm doing a lot more of like shorter back and forth strokes to get it darker. And hopefully as long as like you're keeping your stuff kind of like consistently in the same spot when you're going back and forth, it doesn't really look like scribbly lines, you know? Or like chicken scratch or something scratchy. Because if you do this, right, when you're making your lines, this could be a technique though. Like this could be a way you wanted to add like hatching in a way. But if you go back and forth, and you're trying to get like a really consistent line versus like this, versus if you can try your best to keep it consistently in one go, you can kind of imitate this line by doing a bunch of shorter lines. You know, just things that you can practice if that's like your preference. And sometimes just going back and forth helps me make sure that the lines stay a little bit consistent versus like, you know, going back and forth with like each individual stroke. And like some areas I want them to be thick anyways, so luckily I don't have to be super precise. Not everywhere needs like the dark lines. Sorry if I went silent. Sometimes it's always usually during like the lines I go more silent. I don't know if it's because I go in a state that like I'm not thinking too much. Because I'm basically tracing over a lot of my lines. Also, sometimes smudging isn't like the problem. It's low-key turning your hand into a stamp. So let's say you put your hand down in some ink. So when you lift it up, nothing happens. But once you place it back down, sometimes the ink is still wet on your hand. So you're just like constantly stamping it across your spread or your page. I think that might be only places I'm gonna add it to Ledian. There's not too many areas that I really want to add this anymore, because I kind of left some areas like very open. I think we're good. I wish I took a photo like with the sketch and then color with pencil crayons and then the inking with a ballpoint pen. Would have been neat to have like at least like a comparison, but you know, it's okay. Yeah, I think that's all we're gonna do for this. Yeah, here's kind of the finished look of Lepus and his little Ledian. I think, yes, the inking helps quite a bit, especially for Ledian. In some of the areas. I kind of wish I changed his eye shape, maybe even. There we go. Just a little bit, because I wish I cut that in a little bit more, because it makes his head look a lot wider than it needs to be. And obviously there's some areas like I could flesh out more so that it would stand out, but I think for now, we're just gonna leave it, because you know, it doesn't need too much. And I think with the way that, you know, certain things fade off and trail off, I like the texture of the pencil and the pen not being everywhere. It just looks a little bit nicer in a sense. It just looks like kind of like a sketch, if anything. But hopefully you guys enjoyed watching me do another longer session of both Lepus and his Ledian. And this kind of like a reminder, this is just more like a Pokemon AU. This isn't like the legit story for what I have planned for technically Selwyn and Lepus. But yeah, it's been a little while since I've done any colored pencil crayon work, but I don't think I've done like a longer session like this other than like the ASMR one. So hopefully you guys enjoyed watching just the process of, you know, me doing a little bit of coloring and layering up stuff. I know he doesn't have like the brightest of colors that we could have played with, but I still think it's kind of fun getting certain areas to look the way that they look. So yeah, I think that's it for today's little session. I'm gonna show you guys the aftermath of this. So luckily it's not too much because the surface is actually quite glossy. But this is like me drawing him with his little Pokemon. So Ledian, Delibird, Pelipper, and then him running around with them. Which is why I kind of wanted to, you know, continue the agenda of Lepus and his Pokemon, which I still need to figure out what I want to do for Cetus, if I want to draw him in the future with his Pokemon as well for a future session, or maybe I'll do like a digital illustration or something. And I finally remember what I was supposed to search up while I was folding laundry. I think I was supposed to look up what the heck Cetitan and Cetotl are, because I think maybe if I give Cetus Cetitan or Cetotl, maybe Cetotl would be funny of a dynamic because it's kind of like a giant baby. But yeah. that's it for today. I'll talk to you guys next time in the next video. Also, because I don't trust the ballpoint pen being dry, I'm gonna grab another like sheet of paper in the meantime. So I think this is sticker paper. We're just gonna put it here for now, and if it imprints the next time I draw, then that should be fine. Because the ink can't stay wet forever, I don't think. After it imprints a few times, or like if it actually dried normally, should be fine. But that's it for today. I'll talk to you guys next time in the next video. Bye!